Welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. Yes, I'm here. This is the Colonel and the Kid podcast, episode 15, the Big Sky Visit. And you're wondering if you're watching this podcast, I'm going no headphones, back to the black cowboy hat and camouflage shirt today, special. More on that later. But those of you not watching, just listening, you're missing out on the great, maybe this is going to become my new uniform. Be nice to have a go-to uniform for podcasting. Anyway, today is December 4th. Can't believe it. Thursday, December 4th, and I'm behind schedule, rushing to get the podcast out before Thursday night football game. And we're not going to talk much about that until later. We've got to read the chapter. So let's finish the welcome. Welcome to the podcast, the Colonel and the Kid podcast. I'm your host, Greg Heitmann, and the podcast is built on the memoir I've written for my grandfather, about my grandfather, I guess, to my grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr. He's the colonel, and I'm the kid, Colonel and the Kid. Colonel is my mom's dad, my maternal grandfather. I guess this is more, it was dedicated to preserving the memory of my grandfather and how I remembered him and the lessons he taught. And I tried to record, I guess, and mention a lesson for each chapter. And as I've gone along, podcasting this and reading these chapters into the record, the electronic record of electronic verbal and video record. And even as I was writing it, it became more about, I guess, how I became me. That's what I concluded. And the idea that this is my own psychotherapy and my self-analysis and my psychoanalysis. And it's very, very cheap therapy. So I've enjoyed that as we've gone along. And the memoir, the actual book itself, when I'm reading these chapters, that's the spine of the podcast. And I build out from there. I kind of have some routine, regular, recurring sections and subsections going on. But the memoir itself is the main point. And what I've been trying to do lately is just go ahead and read the chapter up front, and then the people that don't want to listen to the rest of the podcast, they can go about their way and just stop listening. And I don't encourage that. I want to discourage you. I want you to remain on the podcast and listen to the whole thing, because you can hear the podcast and the Colonel and the Kid memoir, and then you can see sort of the resulting other things that are built around the memoir itself, and I guess what I call the strangeness of what is Greg after being developed over all these years and learning the influences and putting them into play from the memoir and the lessons my grandfather taught me. And you can judge yourself whether they're good or bad. But no, we will go ahead and read the chapters. In today's chapter, the name of the chapter is The Big Sky Visit, and it'll become obvious what that means when I read it. But it's chapter 15 as we plod along the podcast. So here we are. Let's go ahead. Let's get a drink before we start. So this is the Colonel and the Kid memoir. Chapter 15, The Big Sky Visit. And as usual, we like to start the chapter with a quote. And today's quote, "I'm in love with Montana. For other states, I have admiration, respect, recognition, even some affection. But with Montana, it is love. And it's difficult to analyze love when you're in it. End quote. Well, that's John Steinbeck, one of the, another premier American novelist, just extolling the virtue of Montana, the big sky state. There's your intro quote, and now we'll go ahead and start reading the chapter. Grandpa was not a man of large physical stature, but there was no one with a bigger presence when he was in the room. He had a quiet authority that surrounded him. I chose the cover photo, me standing next to Grandpa perched on a scenic overlook on Beartooth Pass in Montana. It's a favorite photo of mine. I think the picture is from 1977, and I was 8 years old. Grandpa towers over me, and this is how I always felt, and how I still feel. I would always look up to him. Even after I grew up and was half a head taller than Grandpa, I would still look up to him. And I have a photo here that was it's the cover. I think it was the cover of the of the Kindle version of the first 20 chapters, volume 1 of the Colonel and Kid memoir. And I think I changed that later to a different one. I'll have to double check, but for this chapter, I'm going to call this the cover photo, and I'll read the caption, then describe the photo a little bit here. And the caption reads, Greg and Grandpa pose on the scenic overlook at Beartooth Pass in Montana, circa 1977. This is a picture, and I got like a navy blue sweatshirt with my hood up, my hands in my pockets. It's kind of chilly. We're high up in the mountains, and I'm on the left side of the photo, and Grandpa's on the right side of the photo, and he's got a navy blue sweater and a button-up collared shirt underneath that sweater, and he's got his flat cap and his glasses, and and we're both looking at the camera, and I'm really cheesing up. My eyes are like squinted, half closed, because I'm trying to smile so big for the camera. The mountains are in the background, the great big mountains, the Beartooth Pass mountains. I don't know what the elevation. I think they're probably got to be close to 14,000 feet, and there's snow in the mountains, and behind us there's a guardrail behind us in the overlook, so to protect us from falling off. But I love the photo. Grandpa's got his hands in his pockets of his blue jeans, and it's because it's chilly. It's a great photo. Not as crisp as I'd like to have it, and I think maybe that's why I changed to a different photo later. And it was more of a group photo, and then I had to crop off some people, but it was a little brighter and better color and crisper. But this photo is really stuck in my memory of how I remember the time and Grandpa, and I think the rest of the chapter will elaborate a little more on my feelings and the photo itself. So back to the chapter. Grandpa was about 5 feet 7 inches, not particularly tall by any standard. I remember at one point my mom and Grandma talking about me while I sat there. The discussion was projecting how tall I might be, and the consensus was that I was going to probably be like my grandfather, a little on the smaller side. It stuck with me. I didn't want to be short. It kind of scared me that I might be shorter than average. It was nothing to worry about. I'm above average at about 5 feet 11 inches, which is great because the world is pretty much built by people of my size, for people of my size. I've been the tallest in the family for a while, but if I indeed was the tallest, I conceded that title to Derek, my nephew, a few years ago. So we have another photo here, and I'll read the caption and then try to describe it. I was hard-pressed to find any photos of just me and Grandpa as an adult. Well, me as an adult and Grandpa as an adult. So here's a photo of me on my high school graduation day in Groton, South Dakota, May 1987. So on my left side, I'm seated at the formal dining room table in my mom and dad's house in Groton. And I'm seated at the dining room table, and there's a cake in front of me. And it says, "Congratulations, Greg, on your graduation," on the cake. And Grandpa's to my right, on my right shoulder, and my grandma's on my left shoulder. She's got her arm draped over my right shoulder. And I think I have a pink shirt on, and looks like my grandma has a pink shirt on. I have like a pink short sleeve button up shirt, and Grandpa's got a light blue shirt and dark blue tie. And Grandpa's looking down at the cake. Grandma's looking at the camera. I'm looking, smiling big at the camera. And it's quite the photo of the dated 1987 decorations of curtains and candles on the table. It's kind of strange, but still very nostalgic to look at. Enjoy seeing that photo. So hopefully the people in the video podcast are getting a good look at that. Decorations of the times. And then there's another photo here, and you can see it's another era, and you can look at the decor. I'll read the caption, then describe a little more. Here's a classic Christmas time photo from circa 1976 that was a quasi-tradition. The Heitmann, Blado, and Hortness children lined up in order of age. I throw this picture in as part of the record to show my own stature. There I am in the middle with my long-sleeve light blue shirt. From left to right, Grady, Jackie, Greg, Christy, Lori, Garrett, and Missy. And it's a classic photo because although the curtains look like they're light green, and the rest of the background is kind of dark because it must have been a pretty good flash to capture the foreground with the kids in it. But it's nice. It's a good photo. It's very crisp and focused and stuff. I think pretty sure my dad took this photo. Pretty sure. And so Grady and I we're dressed kind of alike in the same like long sleeve shirt, light blue shirt, and then Jackie's got like a plaid flannel type shirt, maybe. I don't know if it's a button up shirt. And then Christy's got some sort of sweatshirt on with green pants. Lori's got some sweater, looks like maybe a sweater with maybe a long sleeve turtleneck underneath it. And then Garrett towards the end, he's got a white shirt, but he's got this classic leather vest, like a cowboy vest on, long sleeve white shirt and with a cowboy vest on. Pretty cool. And then there's Missy at the end. She's got like a multicolored shirt on, long sleeve yellow shirt. And it's good Christmas time photo because it is Christmas time now because it is December, like I mentioned at the beginning. Good to have the Christmas photo during Christmas time. But back to the chapter. There was just something the way Grandpa carried himself that made him seem taller than he physically was. I've thought about it a lot, and I have concluded it is likely his military training and years as an Army officer that honed his character. He projected authority. 12,000 words into my memoir of the man, and maybe I'm stating the obvious, but I wanted to be like Grandpa. I've been very lucky to have him as a role model, a template that could provide success. I think it worked, emulating the man. It all adds up. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That's how I think of it. Many, many individual attributes of Grandpa, all separated, would be meaningless. A modern reference I have heard lately might be talent stack. Put all your skills together, stay patient, persevere. Then you might be able to measure up to Grandpa. And I add parenthetically, be successful. Excuse me again. I don't remember anything else about Grandpa and Grandma's Big Sky visit when we lived in Montana. Just the photo, and those were some big mountains. My great-grandma Helen, my grandma's mom, also visited us in Billings on that trip. But I don't think I would have any memory of their visit without the other scenic overlook photos that included a shot or two with her in the viewfinder. And here I have another photo, and I'll read the caption and then try to describe. This is the collage of Grandma, Grandpa, and Grandma Helen on their Big Sky visit and sightseeing trip to Beartooth Pass. Photos circa 1977. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 photos in this collage, this little framed collage. And I suspect it was purchased at Kmart in the late 70s and put together by my mom as a memory collection of memories of the trip from her grandma and her mom visiting us in Billings, Montana. And then we took a sightseeing trip up to the big mountains. It's probably like 45, 50 miles away from Billings, near Red Lodge, Montana, I think is where it was. The Beartooth Pass that crossed over from Montana down to Wyoming. But there, these photos, and I'll start in the top left. There's a little kind of a distant photo. My dad took all these photos, I'm sure, except with the ones that he's in. There's a one with my dad in it. Well, first photo is it looks like Grandpa, Grandma Helen, and Grandma walking up the little trail to the scenic overlook, and my dad is above them looking down. They're kind of far in the distance, but can see them, kind of get the scale of how high up we are in the mountains. And then the top middle photo, it's like the primary photo of Grandma Helen in the center, and she's got a brown heavier jacket and brown pants, and she's got a red headscarf, and she's smiling and looking right at the camera, getting a picture, and she's kind of like, looks a little unstable. She's got her arms out, kind of getting her balance a little bit. And Garrett's in that picture too, kind of, he doesn't, I'm sure he doesn't know he's getting photographed. He's kind of looking, and he's got a light blue sweatshirt with his hood up. And then the top right photo, it's just the three boys, me on the left, Garrett in the middle, and Grady on the right side of the photo. And we all have our sweatshirts on. And I'm making some weird face, and my eyes are closed, and just, I don't look like I don't know what I don't look like I'm ready to be photographed. That's for sure. And Garrett's in the middle. I don't think he's looking at the camera, kind of looking towards the left side of the photo. And then there's Grady. Grady's just like stone faced, staring straight ahead. He doesn't have his hood up. He's got one hand on Garrett, looks like, and one hand in his pocket. I got my hands in my pocket, and Garrett's got his hands just by his side. So I think it was pretty cool up in the mountains because there's snow on the ground. Then the bottom photos, there's 4 photos in the bottom. They'll start from the left and go to the right. And on the left bottom photo is the famous photo of the cover of me and Grandpa up in the mountains. And then the other photo in the middle left, it's Grandma Helen, Grandma Hagen, and my mom. And Garrett's in front of them, not paying attention, kind of looking down and to the left in his blue sweatshirt with his hood up. But the lady's in the photo, my Grandma Helen on the left, she's smiling with her hands in her pocket of her heavy jacket. And my grandma, she's got these really dark sunglasses on, and her mouth is wide open, really smiling. And she's got like a heavy, looks like maybe a leather coat. And then my mom has, she's got her dark, I don't think they're the auto dimming. So I don't know what they are. The sunglasses that automatically darken, or regular glasses, and they darken. I don't think they're sunglasses specifically, but she's got like a red jacket. And I think my dad got these jackets for her and my dad. They're from Bridgestone. They're from when he bought some new tires. So she's wearing this bright red jacket with a yellow stripe going vertically on the left side of her chest that says Bridgestone on it. And she's got her hands, I think she's holding Grandma's hand and one hand in her pocket. And then there's a photo looking down into the valley from the scenic overlook of how steep and big those mountains are. And then finally, I think Grady's taking this photo because he's not in it. And you can see it's Grandpa, me, my dad, and Garrett. And we all got our hands in our pockets except Garrett. And it's got it looks like, we're all wearing jeans, but I look like I have these huge bell bottom jeans. I just noticed, and it looks really weird. It looks like, I don't know, but this is the photo I think that was crisper. And I think I ended up cropping Garrett and my dad out of the photos to try to make this the actual cover photo of the Colonel and the Kid memoir, volume 1. So I have that. It's a pretty good color on that photo, and glad it was preserved. So, and then finally, well, I don't know if this is the final photo, but I think it is. Yep, this is the final photo of the chapter. It's well, I'll read the caption and then describe the photo, and hopefully that you can look and see it on the video podcast. I'll add these photos to the video. But here's the caption. Grandma Helen surrounded by her grandchildren circa 1981. In back are Dickie, Grandma Helen, and Eloise. In front are Kathy and Carolee, my mom, and Kathy, my aunt. And so they're sitting on the famous couch that was sold to the movie business that I acquired from my mom and dad, who had acquired it from my grandma and grandpa. And eventually I sold it to the movie business here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Well, actually, it was an Albuquerque company, I think, but they came up and picked it up here for me. But it's that classic hide-to-bed couch, flowery couch. And so Dickie, Dickie and Eloise, that's my grandma's niece and nephew. And there's Grandma Helen in the middle of all the grandchildren. So Dickie and Eloise were the children of Richard and Joyce Hansen. And then in front are Kathy and Carolee, my aunt and my mom. And they're the children of Betty Jean and Edwin Hagen. So that's the sort of the summary of those photos. And I'll finish out the chapter. Maybe I've built a false memory around that photo of Grandpa and me in the mountains. The fact is, I saw that photo as a framed collage in the downstairs living room on my way to my bedroom thousands of times growing up in my parents' house in Groton, South Dakota. It likely sunk in as something special through the sheer repetition of seeing it. The thing is, I believe it. I believe in that memory and the idea that Grandpa was a big man. This photo is where the seed was planted to perform this self-analysis and document a how-to book. After all, this is basically a guidebook in appreciation of Grandpa's life and how to approach duplicating his success. The name of this chapter is The Big Sky Visit, but it might be more aptly named The Stature. So, I'll close out the chapter with a quote, as we always do, and then maybe I'll talk about the chapter a little more. So the quote is, quote, "Turn me loose, set me free, somewhere in the middle of Montana," end quote. And that's a lyric from one of Merle Haggard's hits called Big City. Anyway, that's the end of chapter 15, The Big Sky Visit, from the Colonel and the Kid memoir. And I guess, I started talking a little bit about how we're getting into the meat of the memoir here. And I guess I would say that that's especially true of this chapter, because I think just that photo of me and Grandpa and I think I asked to have that photo of just me and Grandpa, no, none of my brothers in it, just me and Grandpa. And then it was put into this frame and somehow sat on the shelf, and I would walk by and maybe catch just a glimpse of it walking to my bedroom in the basement downstairs. How many times did I walk back and forth and see it? I just wonder how many times a day go going to get something from your bedroom and just leaving and coming back, going to bed at night, whatever it was, just seeing that photo over and over. And it was probably imprinted on my brain and you know, how special Grandpa was to me, I guess. And I think it probably helped inspire, just maybe triggered me taking action to try to record and document our relationship and hopefully provide some information for people to better their lives. And I can share some of the lessons I learned and preserve them for history and the betterment of society. How's that for putting into the record the greatness of my grandfather? So, in my opinion, anyway, I did enjoy that chapter. And it may have turned into a little bit of, I guess, almost an aside conversation about family and cousins too, because I put those other pictures of the cousins at Christmas time lined up like that. And then my mom and her cousins, well, my mom and her sister and her cousins, with their grandma centered, in the center, and how they grew up with that relationship with their grandma. And I guess it's just interesting to me identifying those family links and documenting them and trying to preserve them for the next generations to be able to look at and enjoy and emulate, I guess, too. I guess maybe that's the thing that is becoming really the bottom line, that this is something that's I put together to help people. It's a guide and that they could emulate and maybe have some success on their own by following guidebook. At least that's the way I picture it anyway. And maybe it's not the greatest guide, and maybe I don't have the greatest success, but it's something to help build around for other people. So anyway, I'm going to stop that discussion on the chapter and release the people that just want to listen to the reading of the chapter and the discussion about it. So that's it. You're off. That's the end of the reading of the memoir, and we'll go on to the other records, particularly the NFL update. So that's it for you guys. Go ahead, be free. 28 minutes into the podcast, and we'll go to I think we're going to jump right into the NFL update because I want to get that into the record, and then maybe we can go back to a couple other things I'll talk about, depending on the length of my ranting about the NFL. But we may be having to hold over some of my other topics due to time constraints, but they're pretty good. I got some good stuff I wanted to share today. But first of all, let's review the NFL update. Well, it was a tough week. So far this year, 130 and 63 on the year. 130 correctly picked, 63 wrong, and we fell back down to 67%, off of 68% the week before, and going the wrong direction, trying to strive for 70% accuracy on my picks. 9-7 on the week, 16 games, and it was a bloodbath early because there's 3 games on Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, and I got all 3 of those wrong. And then on Black Friday, there was a game, and I got that wrong. So I started 0 for 4 to start the week 13, and I was just sick. And so the Packers were at Detroit, and I had picked Detroit, and they lost. Detroit just does not look right. Chiefs at the Cowboys, and I picked the Chiefs and the Cowboys. They won that game, and then the Bengals played the evening game on Thanksgiving, and I had picked the Ravens at home to win that game, and the Bengals won. And then on Black Friday, Chicago played at the Eagles, and Chicago won. So I guess what the common thread for those games turns out to be, and I should have known this. I should have just not fell. I fell right into the trap of the NFL. I picked all the favorites, and 3 out of 4 home teams. It's not that. There's a trap that gets set up on the NFL, and it turns out that really it's not about competition. It's about viewership. What makes for the best game, and what makes for the future best game, future matchups to make people tune in. And I lost sight of that, and I need to be more cognizant of that, making picks in the future as we get closer to the playoffs, and how those matchups will affect the playoffs and future TV revenue, and how things, come together in the NFL, which is not about competition and football. It's about money and how to generate money and help the economy flourish, and help all the businesses associated with the NFL, the t-shirts and garments, whatever, hats, whatever it is that you sell to advertise your team and be part of the, I guess, the fun of belonging to something, be part of a winning team. I don't begrudge the NFL, but I don't like to think that we sit here and pretend that this is about playing a game on the field and deciding that we have a victor based on better, I guess, better athletes. I don't know. It's definitely not just athletic in that sense, as far as I can tell anyway, because there's the psychological part of football, where I think there's just certain people that flourish in that realm, the gladiator type realm, and that you have different echelons of attitudes that go with playing any kind of sport, I guess. How bad do you want to win? What are you in it for? Are you in it for the money, glory, just the competition? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. You want to win so bad that you're going to do everything you can. And I think that it really becomes apparent in football that there's people out there just to make money. It's not about winning. It's like, you play the game, get done with the game, go and hug them, shake their hands, and you go and collect your paycheck, go home. It's just about a paycheck. And I think that there's other people that really want to win. They'll just do anything to win. And I think that really, if you start watching it and noticing it, you can see that there's that attitude that's out there, but they're under the thumb of the NFL, and the matchups they want, the TV show that it has become. It's all there if you look at it. So I got to remember that when I'm trying to make my picks, that it isn't about football. It's about money. So, uh, and I say all that as the preface to analyzing at least the Cowboys and Chiefs game, and then the Bengals and Ravens game, because what it turns out to me is it just turns out to be an officiating fest. It ends up being all these penalties and pass interference calls that determine the outcome of the game. That's what it was for the Cowboys to come back and win and beat the Chiefs, is that there's huge pass interference, defensive pass interference calls that if you look at them objectively, to me, it's obvious that it should have been offensive pass interference on multiple calls against the Cowboys, but they called defensive pass interference, giving first downs and moving the ball forward so the Cowboys could score. And in the Bengals and Ravens game, there was a huge offensive pass interference called against one of the Ravens wide receivers. He had caught a touchdown, and they called it back and called a penalty on the wide receiver. They said he pushed off and called offensive pass interference. I don't know, to me, it should have been no call. And I think even the officials, I guess, well, I should say that a former official that's part of the broadcasting team on these games, I think they were kind of just disgusted with the way the officiating was going. If I remember right, they actually commented on it saying, well, it didn't seem like that rose to the level of pass interference. And they say it so subdued, like they're scared they're going to get in trouble by the NFL for actually speaking the truth. I always wonder about that. It's like, oh, I wonder if these guys are sat down and told about this stuff, that be careful what you say. You know, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and you are, you're treading thin ice. So I don't know. I don't think I'm long for watching the NFL much longer with the real interest I've had over the, past couple decades, really. I think I've really thrown myself into NFL football way too much. I think it's kind of winding down for me. That's okay. I mean, I think it happens just like everything. Time passes and you move on. So anyway, that was my big comment on those games, and I'll just review the rest real quick here and see if anything pops into my mind as I go through. 49ers at Browns. Picked 49ers, got that one right. Jaguars at Titans. Picked Jaguars. Titans are terrible. Still one of the worst teams in the league. That game was closer than it probably should have been, but Jaguars still pulled it out. They're still, as bad as the Jaguars have played at certain times, they're still competing for playoffs and have a chance to make the playoffs and maybe win some games in the playoffs, which is weird. Texans at Colts. I picked the Colts at home in that game, and Texans beat them. Texans may have the best defense in the league. They could come back and make the playoffs possibly after being pretty terrible for most of the year. Saints at Dolphins. Dolphins win that game. I picked the Dolphins. Falcons at Jets. I picked the Falcons, and Kirk Cousins starting quarterback, filling in for the injured Michael Penix. Falcons leading the whole game and then lose on a last second field goal by the Jets. Jets winning at home for their second win of the season. Jets are just so bad, but the Falcons must be just, they're terrible too. Cardinals at Buccaneers. Buccaneers, I picked them. They won at home. Rams at Carolina, upset of the week, probably. The Rams, probably the best team in the league still, in my belief. Going to Carolina and losing to Carolina, which is a 500 team. Improving, apparently, but that was a big shocker. Vikings at Seahawks. I picked the Seahawks to win that, and the only surprising thing about that game was how bad the Vikings looked. I moved them down to the worst team in the league. Worse than the Titans. The Vikings have 4 wins on the year, I think is what they have, but I'm not sure how they won any game. They are so terrible, and there's just no hope. I feel like if you're a Vikings fan like me, we're in for probably 3 or 4 years minimum of just not competing. I mean, not being able to compete. And I don't know what to recommend for them. I would say that the main recommendation would be get rid of the general manager, who I think is not qualified to be general manager. Went to an Ivy League school, was working in Wall Street, somehow got into an executive office in the NFL, I think with the 49ers first, and then into the Cleveland Browns organization. and somehow has ended up being a general manager. I think he's in his early 40s, and I don't think he has any qualification in football to be, I guess, evaluating talent and running and managing personnel in the NFL. It's just bizarre to me that this, as far as Kevin O'Connell, the head coach for the Vikings, I mean, he helped put them in the situation, I guess, that the idea that J.J. McCarthy can be a quarterback in the NFL, and he apparently can be because he can't stay healthy enough to get on the field and even actually put up enough, playing enough games to be able to evaluate whether he has enough talent to play in the NFL. There's that old saying, I can't remember where I heard it, but I hear it repeated quite often, talking about abilities. The best ability in the NFL is availability. If you are not available, no matter how talented you are, no matter how fast, how you can throw or catch, run, whatever, if you are injured all the time and you're not available, it's worthless. So I just have no hope for the Vikings at this point. I mean, it's probably going to be years unless some miracle happens. I just project doom for the Vikings for, I'd say, 3 to 5 years before they can recover from this little stint that they've fallen into, and it's exacerbated in the fact that they played the Seahawks. Seahawks shut them out, and they had the Vikings had a quarterback. I think I'm pretty sure he's a rookie. This is his first time he ever played. He started a game, I should say. He played, I guess, some mop-up duty or whatever earlier, taking some snaps. He went to University of Minnesota. Then before that, he was with University of New Hampshire. So his Max Brosmer, he was so bad, and he made such a terrible play at the end of the first half that was psychologically just defeating for the Vikings. And you have to see the play to really understand how terrible it was. Vikings got shut out for the first time, I think, since 2008 or something like that, and they were just so bad. It just looked embarrassing. And like I said, what exacerbated the loss was that the Seahawks quarterback was the quarterback for the Vikings last year, and his name's Sam Darnold, and he led the Vikings to 14-3 record. Looked good until there was any pressure on him at the end of the year, and then in the playoffs where he just totally collapsed. And I think that's what Sam Darnold is. Good when it doesn't mean as much, but when the pressure's on, I think he folds like a cheap suit or economy tent. He will just collapse under that pressure. So I kind of feel sorry for him, because I think the Seahawks are having a good year, and I think they're going to collapse. Although you can be a mediocre quarterback and still win a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer with the Baltimore Ravens back in whatever year that was, 2002 or something like that, 2003 time frame. Trent Dilfer was less than average, I think, as an NFL quarterback. Didn't make mistakes, and the Ravens had a great defense, and Seahawks have a pretty good defense. I don't know if it's a great defense, but so maybe there's a chance. Bills at Steelers. This was an interesting game to me watching. I picked the Bills, and the Bills won, and the Steelers look so bad that they have Aaron Rodgers as their aging, ancient quarterback, and they just look like they're defeated. And the Steelers' defense is terrible. That steel curtain is nothing anymore. It looks like it's over for them. And the talk of the town, talk of the NFL, is that Mike Tomlin, the longtime coach of the Steelers, 18 years, I think they said, he's never had a losing season. So that is amazing. And it sounds like that they're going to try to, they're ready for him to move on. And maybe he's ready to move on too. Maybe just, wear out your welcome. I just, like, for me, maybe the NFL is worn out for me. That's fine. But moving on, Raiders at Chargers. I picked the Chargers, and Raiders are one of the bottom 3 teams in the league. Chargers beat them pretty good. Broncos at Redskins. That was the football night in America. That's the NBC game, the evening game on Sunday night, the primetime game. Broncos beat the Redskins in overtime. Redskins should have won. They had a 2-point conversion in overtime to win the game, and the play worked perfectly, but just could not be executed to the exactness it needed. And the quarterback, Marcus Mariota, the backup quarterback for the Redskins, couldn't get the pass over to complete the 2-point conversion. Couldn't get it over the defensive. I don't know if it was defensive end or linebacker, and the linebacker knocked the ball down to seal the game for the Broncos. So Broncos got one of the best records in the league, and still working to get Sean Payton on the podcast to talk about football and his life. And hopefully he'll make an appearance here and hold an open spot. And looking forward to having that discussion with him. Sean Payton, former coach of the New Orleans Saints, and one of the reasons probably I will give up on the NFL. Sometime here in the near future, I'm guessing, but just because the NFL is, again, it's not really, to me, a sport. It's lost its sportiness. It's become more like professional wrestling, and that's fine. That's fine. That's fine for other people to watch. But finally, the final game of the week was a Monday night game, and this was the Giants at the Patriots. And this had one of the greatest plays in it of all time for comedic effect, which is the kicker for the Giants. I can't remember what his name is. Koo, I think is his last name. I think he's a Korean kicker. And he used to kick for the Atlanta Falcons, but they cut him, and now I think he's traveled around. I think he's ended up on the Giants, but he had to kick. He stubbed his foot so bad that he never touched the ball trying to kick the ball. It was just it's amazing. If you haven't looked it up, you got to see the video. Google that video of I think his last name's Koo, Koo, and look that up, and it's such a good laugh. But I really enjoyed seeing the highlight. I missed the game. I was doing something else because I didn't really care about that game. But I wanted to mention this too. I'm backing up to the Thanksgiving games, and I saw this later that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys, and again on Thanksgiving we have the Cowboys and Indians theme. Perfect. Just the NFL does such chef's kiss to the NFL and how they market stuff. Cowboys and Indians on Thanksgiving Day. And is there a metaphor here that the Cowboys won? They beat the Indian Chiefs on that day? I don't know. But anyway, that game, Chiefs at Cowboys, was the most watched regular season game of all time. And I read that they had 57.2 million people viewing that game, that is just unbelievable to me that many people watched it. Just think of the money that's involved in that, and the revenue generated from all the advertising, the commercials, and then in turn, all the people that see commercials are influenced to go shopping and whatever, and the Walmart deals. I think Walmart, those are the big commercials I remember seeing, where they have Walton Goggins as the Grinch advertising for Walmart. It's classic. I mean, how much do they spend to make the ads? And then, Walmart spends money to buy advertising time on, during the games, and how much money is generated through that, and then how much sales. It's just the economic engine of the NFL is just unbelievable to me. I admire it so much. I mean, I'm jealous of the fact that they are so adept at what they do. I wish I was adept at what I do like they were in their field. It's just amazing. So anyway, I mean, congratulations to the NFL. I mean, they know what they're doing. But anyway, here we are, week 14, making my picks for this starting tonight. First game of week 14, Cowboys at Lions. So this one, Thursday night game on Amazon Prime. Man, this is a good matchup. Cowboys and Lions both played at home on Thanksgiving Day, so they have a full week's rest. But the Cowboys are playing so much better that in my mind I want to pick the Cowboys, but I can't do it. I'm picking the Lions. I'm picking with my heart on this one. Probably a mistake, but I'm picking Lions to win. Go Lions. I don't know. I'm just hopeful that the that the fans of the Dallas Cowboys hearts can be broken after getting this feeling of that the old famous Dumb and Dumber line saying, you say there's a chance at making the playoffs, and it's like 1 in a million chance for the Cowboys to make the playoffs. They Cowboys pretty much have to win. Lions are almost in a must win, but it's less of a must win to make the playoffs. But pulling for the Lions. We'll see. Seahawks at Falcons. Seahawks should dominate this game. The way this goes, I mean, Seahawks got to go across the whole country to play. Defense travels, they say. And the Falcons have backup quarterback in place with Kirk Cousins. They don't have their best receiver. So I don't give the Falcons much chance, but watch me eat my words. It's much like when the Rams traveled to Carolina to play, and the Rams were a huge favorite and lose. So, I'm picking the Seahawks to beat the Falcons. Bengals at Bills. This could be the game of the week. Cincinnati Bengals have to go to the Bills. I think their forecast is for snow up there in Buffalo, so it could be just interesting visually watching. But Joe Burrow's back for the Bengals, and he is a force to be reckoned with. I just can't believe how good a quarterback he is, and with the good receivers the Bengals have, and the Bills defense is terrible. Oh, I don't know. This could be a fun game to watch in the snow. Maybe the receiving won't be and throwing the ball won't be as applicable in the elements of bad weather, but I don't know. Kind of looking forward to seeing it. Titans at the Browns. I'm picking the Browns. I mean, these are two terrible teams, but the Browns defense has been just dominating for the most part this year. So, and the Titans, again, they were the worst team in my rankings for most of the year. They have been replaced by the Vikings as the worst team. But I'm going to pick the Browns, not with any confidence. Moving on to my beloved Vikings playing at home against the Redskins. And supposedly J.J. McCarthy's back from concussion again and supposed to start against the Redskins. But I have no confidence. I'm picking the Redskins to win this game, mostly because the Redskins defense has been playing a lot better now that their head coach has moved back to being the main defensive coordinator for them. I mean, the Vikings defense is pretty good, but their offense is so bad that their defense wears down at the end of the game, and I just don't think they can do it. I don't think they can hold on. I think the fans are going to be. I think the fans have turned. So if people that are there, I don't think they're going to be cheering like they would be. I mean, the Vikings are out of the playoff picture. I don't think officially eliminated, but they have no chance to make the playoffs. So I don't know what they're actually playing for other than pride. And if it was me, I would be tanking the rest of the season to try to get a top pick, be in the top 5 picks, whatever. Just get some talent back infused into the Vikings if you can. I have no confidence that their personnel people can make selections that will help them. But I'm gonna pick the Redskins. I love the old Redskins logo. It was a thing of beauty. And not that I don't like the Vikings. I've always liked that purple and gold and white. And I love the Vikings horns, that classic helmet they used to have with the glossy look. But two classic franchises battling to see who's the biggest loser. It's perfect. It's a perfect December matchup. Dolphins at Jets. This is a tough week for me. I'm going to pick the Dolphins on the road. I think they just have way more talent, but they're so sloppy. And I don't know about Mike McDaniel is their coach. I just have no confidence that he can that he's a good head coach. I think he's a good offensive coordinator, but I think the Jets have more of an inspirational leader at coach, former player, former all pro cornerback. I think they have a lot less talent on the Jets, but a lot better motivation. I'm picking the Dolphins still. I think talent can override bad coaching in this case. But please, again, like I should always say this to start with, but I'm in the middle. I'll make my middle statement here. Do not bet on the NFL. Do not gamble. It's not worth it. No matter how many endorphins you achieve by betting and maybe winning here and there, you're not going to win because it's all rigged against you by the sports books, including the NFL, who's in bed with the sports books now. I mean, they're one and the same. They're advertised and sponsored by the NFL and partners. I guess they call them partnering with their advertisers. So I mean, don't gamble. Pick these games for fun like I do, and then I mean, I pick them for fun. I don't have fun picking them because I end up being frustrated by my lack of ability to pick, but it ends up in like reverse psychology. I do have fun because I can laugh at myself and how badly I pick, and then I can reevaluate and analyze what's really going on behind the scenes. And I need to, again, maybe take another look at these picks as I look at future matchups. I'm not doing that at this point because I had already made these picks before I went through my big analysis of how these games this week affect next week. I didn't do that yet. So I just have matchups based on competition of this week. And again, the competition is not competition. It's about how do we get eyes on TVs to watch these games. Oh man, I've gone down quite the rabbit hole here, haven't I? So, but on to the next game. Saints at Buccaneers. I'm picking the Buccaneers because I think that Baker Mayfield is better than the other quarterback. His name's Shuck, I think, for the Saints. Anyway, Buccaneers to win that game. Colts at Jaguars. This is the worst game of the week for me to pick because the Colts are fading. They have a quarterback, Daniel Jones, who has a broken leg. The lower, was it the fibula? The lower non-weight bearing bone in his leg. It still has to hurt like the Dickens. I can't, to play on a broken leg, you just got to be, I think, you can't be there mentally. And this is the mentality of NFL football. Oh yeah, I'm just going to go out and play on a broken leg. No big deal. I mean, you're taking so many pain-killing shots and injections into that leg so you can't feel your leg. I guess maybe their doctors are convinced that there's no long-term damage that's going to happen. So that's fine. You can do what you want. I mean, that's the mentality that it takes to make that money in the NFL. I mean, you just got to be willing just to forget about pain and suffering and anything else. I guess hopefully it's that will to win and not just make money. I don't know. Maybe it is money for him. I don't know. I'm picking the Colts because they have had a good running game all year with Jonathan Taylor at the running back, probably the premier running back in the league. We'll see if the Jaguars defense can stop them. I don't think the Jags can stop them on defense. I think the Jaguars defense is, maybe the top 25%, maybe in that echelon. But their offense is suspect. I don't think their offense can, give their defense a rest and stay on the field long enough to provide the Jaguar defense to recoup and put that best effort out there. So I'm picking the Colts. I'm not sure who's favored in that game points wise. I didn't look. I usually don't look at those, but I think, I think the Colts can win. Don't be surprised if they don't. And again, this is a tough week, and nothing's going to surprise me on these games. And if I have another bad week, I won't be surprised at all in my picks. Steelers at Ravens. I think I did do some analysis on this game, and I think if the Ravens win, it's better for the NFL and ratings and TV watching. And I think the Steelers, they've hit the wall, and I think they're done. I don't think they can make the playoffs. I mean, I think there's an outside chance they can. I think they'd have to win out starting with this game. So I wouldn't rule them out. There's a chance, but I think the Ravens and Lamar Jackson have more preeminence in the NFL. In the NFL advertising world right now than the Steelers. Long time history of the Steelers and the Steel Curtain and everything that's with the Steelers and their history. I think the NFL has seen something in the Ravens for the immediate earnings that the Ravens can provide. So that's why I'm picking the Ravens really in this instance. Again, I won't be surprised if Steelers win, but I'm not going to pick them. Ravens with a W. Broncos at Raiders. This should be the easiest game of the week and the most lopsided game. Easiest pick. Broncos going to the Raiders. Unless there's some major injuries for the Broncos, they should walk in this game. And I would suspect that this game could get out of hand, and that rivalry would be, there's no taking your foot off the gas. This could be easy, a 20-point win for the Broncos, I suspect, just because the Raiders are so talentless at this point. They're competing with the Vikings for the worst team in the league, I would say at this point. But they have, at least the Raiders have a quarterback with experience that can play a little bit. So I say a 20-point victory for the Broncos. I'll probably eat my words on that, but I'm picking the Broncos. Bears at Packers. I'm not a believer in the Bears. I'm going to pick the Packers, and this is going to really probably determine the NFC North division. And I think the Packers can probably, their launch pad of last week's victory over Detroit in Detroit, and they swept that series with Detroit this year. So I think the Packers can, even with their lack of skilled wide receivers being healthy. I think they have some skill at wide receiver, but they're just never healthy. And they have some banged up running back. The Bears, I think, are a little bit smoke and mirrors on that. And I say, I guess maybe I'm influenced by the Vikings having beaten the Bears at one point this year. That was the first game of the season, so it probably is meaningless to judge anything by that game. But I'm picking the Packers. I hate both of them. If it could play to a tie, that would be the best for me. And I'll say it. If both their starting quarterbacks were injured and they played to a tie and they're out, the quarterbacks were out for the year, I would particularly enjoy that game. Not that I'm going to watch it, I don't think. Maybe on the red zone. Rams at Cardinals. I'm going to pick the Rams. It seems like Cardinals always give the Rams a hard time. This is a division game. So for them in the West, it's being played at the Cardinals. The Rams are probably going to be very upset, and they could really put the beat down on the Cardinals, I think, possibly. But, they're NFL players. They may show up, might not show up. Who knows? Another tough game. I think that this is the Sunday night game. the Texans at the Chiefs. Chiefs in their last gasp. If they don't win this, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, I'm guessing. Texans defense they might be the best defense in the league right now. And they have enough offense, just enough to squeak by. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I'm just, again, what is it? Picking with my heart over my head. I don't know. Even though I have Kansas City Chiefs fatigue. I still believe in Patrick Mahomes for some reason that he can pull it out. Obviously, he can't because they've been getting beat consistently and losing to the Cowboys last week. I don't know. I'm going with the Chiefs, and it's probably a coin flip. And finally, Eagles at Chargers. I'm going Eagles. I think the Chargers are they have a real lack of talent on that team surrounding Justin Herbert, who broke his finger. And I'm pretty sure he's playing. It's broken on his non-throwing hand, left ring finger, I believe. Eagles got to travel out there after suffering the humiliation of being beaten by the Bears on Black Friday at home, getting booed off the field by their precious Philadelphia fans. The Philadelphia fans for all their sports. They're just bad people. That's my conclusion. I've never been to Philadelphia. Don't care if I go. I just really dislike Philadelphia fans for sports. They seem like they're mean for no reason. They're excessively mean, and I don't know if that's because they're Philadelphia fans, or if that's just because they're Philadelphians. I mean, it's what is it? Philadelphia means brotherly love. I think that's what it translates to. And is it Greek? I think that's where it's from. And they call it the city of brotherly love. And it's apparently an ironic name in this instance. So I don't know. Not a fan of the Eagles. I'm going to pick them, and hopefully I will have a better week. Maybe, what would be awesome? And this would be unexpected and really a boost for my Christmas spirit. If I could go 14-0 with my picks this week, that would be the most awesome thing and put me in a really good mood for the holidays. I've never had a perfect week picking football games in the NFL. I've done this for years, 20 years plus probably, picking every week my games, whether it's just on the Yahoo Sports fantasy app. We had a little pool. We had pools here and there run by family members and cousins and the like. And I never had a perfect week. Maybe this is the week. Let's just throw that out there for the NFL spirits and see what happens. We'll mention we still have some buys. We only have 14 games this week. We have bye weeks for some teams: Panthers, Patriots, Giants, and 49ers. Seems stupid that they still have bye weeks at this point, but oh well. That's it. That's the week that's the NFL update. And I know I ran on long there. So I'm gonna tease all the stuff that I have except the music update I wanted to get to, and the marketing update. I wanted to market the old Long Hollow book. Maybe, I don't know. It makes a great Christmas gift. An actual paperback copy of Long Hollow. I almost said a hard copy. I guess it's actually it's not a hardcover book. I don't have any hardcover books, and I think maybe I will make some. I think you can order them. I think I can go into my account on Amazon and have some printed up. Maybe I'll do that during the Christmas break. And I don't know why I said Christmas break, because I'm on break all the time since I'm retired. It's really funny I said that for Christmas break because I was out and about yesterday on a Wednesday afternoon, like 1:30, went to the grocery store, and the parking lot was full. And it's like, how can this be on a Wednesday? I mean, school's still in session. They're not on holiday break yet, and I mean, we're still 3 weeks from Christmas, and yet the traffic and even at the grocery store would in like a normal time, non-holiday season, it was just so crowded, just unbelievable to me. So it really put me in the anti-Christmas spirit. So I don't really know how to get around that. But so I'm gonna skip over. I will tease. I do have a topic for the "Look What I Found" section, and I'll save that till next time. And I do have a topic for the verbal abuse section that I like, so I particularly enjoy talking about. And I should share it, but I will save it for next week. It's not. This is a tease, and I'll. I do have something for the license to podcast, which is my license plate section. But I'm going to save that till next time. And then I have a special section that I finally was able to find the information I wanted to share, and but it's called the ponies, and it's a horse racing section. So, but I'll save that. I'm just teasing that till next time when I can have more time. But I did want to. I'm calling this a musical update, the music update section, and I did want to talk about it because I think I did mention that I had a music update last podcast, I believe, and was talking about Christmas music and the like. But today I wanted to mention that for those watching the video podcast, yeah, I am wearing the black cowboy hat, which maybe this will become the mainstay for my uniform podcasting, wearing the black cowboy hat and no headphones. I do miss the headphones. I do like listening to myself, making sure that the levels are better, and that if it does quit, that I know if the volume would go out. But I don't like wearing headphones because after a while, you can kind of feel them too much, and you get conscious of wearing headphones. So no headphones. But anyway, I'm wearing the old black felt cowboy hat, and I felt it went well with with my shirt that I'm wearing. This is the black camouflage shirt that I just talked a little bit, but this is like a Christmas shirt because it's got like the pine tree, like an evergreen tree on it. Sometimes I'd wear this to work. This is how I would dress for work when I was actually working at my job with Federal Highway Administration. And I don't know, maybe you can see my new addition if you're watching the video podcast. They sent me this plaque for 30 years working for Federal Highway, which it's kind of, there's some irony in that because I didn't work for 30 years with Federal Highway. I only worked for 25 years. But they sent me this really cool wooden plaque that's engraved and etched with a 30-year plaque. I had over 30 years with federal government, but only 25 with Federal Highway Administrations. So I do like that there's an error on my plaque. I think it speaks volumes with, just about the federal government and working for federal government, and volumes about my career with them. That it's wrong. So anyway, I mentioned that because I also wanted to point out, I don't know if you see it over here, I have a Christmas decoration up, this classic Christmas tree that was in the 50s or 60s, I think. It's an aluminum tree that you put together, and it's got these aluminum like bristles on it for the pine needles. Love it. It shows up in some pictures throughout some of the memoir too, here and there, and that's all the Christmas tree I have up right now. But anyway, I have this shirt, and it's like Christmas themed, so I wanted to mention that. And so I call it the coniferous camouflage because this is for hunting in the pines, and it's also known as the peekaboo pine tree camouflage, pine peekaboo. So I'm using some alliteration there. And then uh, um, the final designation I wanted to share was the evergreen evanescence. That was the camouflage we're looking for this classification of camouflage shirt. But most of all, I wanted to mention that one of my favorite shirts for camouflage, and this was a Wayne Carlton brand shirt. And I don't know if you can see. I don't know if he has a signature on here someplace. And Wayne Carlton he was a pioneer for elk hunting. He was he worked. I guess he hunted turkeys and called turkeys. That was his beginnings. But then he translated that and transferred the calling to elk and calling elk. And it really, like I said, he was a pioneer for calls and calling elk, and it changed elk hunting. And from what I understand too, but I remember getting this shirt and Wayne Carlton and seeing articles about him. I probably got the shirt 15, 20 years ago. It still fits. It's pretty tight, but I like it, so I'm keeping it. But anyway, Wayne Carlton passed away in August, and I think he was 81 years old. And I guess I always admired him and his, I guess just the chance he took. He's like a revolutionary, I guess, in elk hunting, where just really, I mean, he wasn't the first, I don't think the only, but he helped really revolutionize and popularize elk hunting calls and calling elk. This was one of his signature camouflage shirts that he would wear. I took a screenshot off of article I saw in Outdoor Life, because he passed away in August, and he was wearing like a shirt like this in the article that kind of memorialized his life and talked about his hunting and working with calls and being an archery elk hunter. I guess that was really the big thing, being able to call them at close range. And I always kind of just admired his work and just taking that chance to be, the revolutionary and doing something new and really putting his mark on history and changing history and just doing that. And so if you're wondering, why is this in the music update? Why is he going on and on about camouflage shirts and the like and wearing his cowboy hat? I wore the cowboy hat because he hunted. He was an archery hunter, and he hunted with a cowboy hat. Maybe not as big as this, and it was tan, more blend in with the camouflage. It wasn't camouflage, but it was more tan colored, brownish colored. I mean, even if he didn't get an elk that day when he was out hunting, he looked good wearing the hat while he was hunting. So I really admired that too. But anyway, his name was Wayne Carlton, and so the reason this is in the music update, because I don't want people to confuse him with Wayne Carson. So Wayne Carson was a songwriter, and you may know one of his biggest hits. He wrote the song. He was a co-writer, but then he got some help to finish the song. He started the song, and the biggest song he wrote, I think it was his biggest hit, most award-winning. I think it won a Grammy. It was Always on My Mind, and you may know the big hit version by Willie Nelson, but it was recorded by Elvis Presley. I think he wrote it in 1971, if I remember right, looking at some of the information. Elvis recorded it in 1972, and then Willie Nelson recorded it, covered the song in 1983, and it was a huge number one hit. And I think it won a Grammy for, I don't know what it was, for maybe best performance or best song of the year or whatever. But anyway, Grammy award winning song. And the writer of that song was Wayne Carson, not Wayne Carlton. But so I'm kind of, putting the Waynes together. We got double Wayne action on this music update. And Wayne Carson, I wanted to mention, since I'm talking about him, I wanted to mention he had another big song that he wrote. It's called The Letter. It was by the Box Tops. It was a really huge hit. And in the 60s, maybe like the mid 60s, 65, let's say, the Box Tops had a singer who was a teenager. He was like 16 years old. His name was Alex Chilton. And he had this really rough, gravelly voice, just very distinct. And just, if you check it out, Google The Letter by the Box Tops. And then also Wayne Carson wrote the song Soul Deep by the Box Tops. And that's a classic song too, because I remember that being advertised as sort of this compilation of the 60s song. That's a great, it was a part of the great commercial for that I remember seeing that song Soul Deep. I don't think it wasn't a big super hit like The Letter by the Box Tops, but it's a good hit. Good song, good hit song. Nowhere near as big as Always on My Mind. Highly recommend you Google those songs, look them up on YouTube and listen to them. And just enjoy that music for the year. And then you can think of Wayne Carlton and Camouflage, Cowboy Hat. I just get a good feeling, good Christmas feeling talking about these songs and Wayne Carlton and Wayne Carson. Couple Waynes. Pretty good. Anyway, so ran a little long today talking about football mostly, unfortunately. So I do, like I said, I teased all those topics for next time, and I can't wait to share them with you. We'll try to make sure we can fit them in next time. Maybe not go too long on the NFL, but if we can't, when the NFL season's over, we're probably gonna have a lot of space to fill. So maybe we can really get into some other stuff, the side stories from the memoir later on. I'm going to sign off. So it's lunchtime, I guess, here in Santa Fe. But I'll sign off, and we don't say goodbye. We say see you next time. And let's say happy holidays and Merry Christmas. It's that season. Yeah, we'll be back before we'll be back next week before the Christmas season really, really kicks off into full gear. We did get some snow, so maybe we're gonna have a white Christmas here in Santa Fe after all. But I'm kind of hoping it's kind of melts and gets warmer again. It's pretty chilly this morning. I didn't have to shovel any snow, thank goodness. Melt sidewalk and driveway all melted. That's the nice thing about Santa Fe. Usually you get the perfect snow here. It snows and looks pretty and then melts by the afternoon. So that's the best kind of snow. That's the second best kind of snow. The best kind of snow is from my house, looking up in the mountains and seeing the white snow on the mountains far away and say, yep, that's beautiful up there. Keep it up there. But anyway, there's your weather report from Santa Fe. And I'll say, just again, happy holidays. Stay positive. Don't let the negatives of the season get you down. Maybe like I mentioned there, the traffic and the hustle and bustle and the crowded stores. Just be positive. Take that as the spirit of the season, interacting with all those people, and stay positive, be proactive, be glass half full person. I struggle with that myself, but I'm trying to be that, be on the sunny side. Finally, be assertive, be positive, be proactive. You take charge. You take charge of your life. You do, like I say, my NFL metaphor here, you win the coin toss, take the ball, march down the field, and score this Christmas season. That's all I can say. Be positive. And we'll see you next time. I'll sign off with this. Knock, and the door will be open to you. Seek, and you will find. Ask, and you shall be given. That's it. Signing off from Santa Fe. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.